watching it for the first time here with Ben, we'll hear his insightful takes on this. Constructive and pragmatic criticism of struggling Vice President Kamala Harris.
Presidency is in a state of full-scale collapse. It really is. I mean, this is the worst week I have ever seen a president have, maybe. It is definitely up there. Aside from the botchery in Afghanistan, which was a weeks-long rolling crisis for the administration and destroyed Biden's credibility, this week has been brutal. So Joe Biden, this week alone, received reports of inflation at a 40-year high. Joe Biden had his vax mandate struck down by the Supreme Court. Joe Biden is running up against a major border crisis again. Joe Biden's approval rating is down at 33%, according to Quinnipiac. Joe Biden has decided to swivel away from all of those things by randomly shouting about how all Americans who dislike his voting agenda are vicious racists. And now that's breaking down. Even his own party's like, you're acting like a jackass, please stop. Okay, so yesterday, Joe Biden went to the Hill. He's been trying to convince senators on the Hill that they ought to get rid of the filibuster. Yeah, good luck with that. Joe Manchin and Kristen Sssinema have no interest in getting rid of the filibuster. There's no reason they would be interested in getting rid of the filibuster. Why? The filibuster protects them and protects probably half a dozen other Democratic senators. Because those Democratic senators now get to claim that they're in favor of a bunch of Democratic legislative proposals without those proposals ever having to be passed.
Did he just say the quiet part out loud, bro? The radical left? Like, come on, dude. Yeah, what radical left? They're all a bunch of fucking cowards hiding behind plausible deniability. Okay, thank you, Ben. Thanks for being honest for once. That is a true take, and of course he's gonna spin it in a weird direction, but like that, it's totally. And I'll give Ben some credit. He's actually not usually the guy out here. I mean, he's been saying about Joe Biden from the beginning that his greatest strength is that he's not the radical left, right? I'm sure I haven't been watching him as closely as I used to, but I'm sure he still does slip that in every now and again, the radical agenda of the left. But this is the truth right here. The left is fucking weak-kneed and limp-wristed, bro. Like, they're not gonna do shit. That's just the truth. Yeah, I'm gonna stream this just in case anyone pops in. I don't expect any guests tonight, but we'll see.
And that's a pretty good space to be in. The filibuster allows Manchin and Sssinema to hide behind the filibuster in order to not have to vote on very controversial proposals in their own home state. Plus, it turns out that the filibuster has long time been a feature of the Senate. It is a good cooling mechanism for the excesses of congressional passion. Okay, so Joe Biden went on down to the Hill yesterday, and it just
went horribly, so many games
just horribly. It started off before he even went down with Jen Psaki at the White House saying, Joe Biden thinks that we need to make changes to the filibuster, and it's super duper important.
Any piece of legislation that's ever passed, that's hard, that's difficult, goes through some ups and downs and goes through some challenges. That doesn't mean you give up. That's not what leadership is. Leadership is continuing to fight for what's right, continuing to fight to get something done. That means sometimes it fails. We don't know what will happen next. That means sometimes there are gaps between when you get to move forward. We're going to have to determine what the next steps are. But in the meantime, the president is going to continue to make calls. He's going to continue to engage with his colleagues. And that's where his focus is on at this point in time.
Yeah, well, he has no power to do that because the president of the United States is not a sentient being. He's an old man who shouts at the clouds and calls everybody who doesn't like his agenda a vicious Bull Connor racist, even though it was he who was serving in the Senate with people like George Wallace and praising them at the time. Okay, so here was Joe Biden. He goes down to the Hill, and randomly he starts yelling about voting. This is not going to get the job done, sir.
The state legislative bodies continue to change the law, not as to who can vote, but who gets to count the vote. Count the vote. Count the vote. It's about election subversion.
Here's the thing, though, bro. Like, I agree. The Republicans are trying to do anything they can to make sure less people vote. I don't even think it at this point. Yes, is race a factor? Of course it is, but I do think they know that anything at this point that can decrease the amount of people who vote increase their chances. So that's what they're aiming for. And that's despicable. It is, especially like I said this last stream, but you know, this is not a country where we vote at like 95%. At that point, maybe, yeah, maybe there's, if people feel more comfortable adding a few more hurdles, and it's like, all right, well, we already got 95% of the country voting, like, why not? People seem motivated to vote. It's, what's the difference? I might even be aiming. I'm not committed to that, but where the bullshit comes in is that Joe Biden's saying all this stuff, but then out the other side of his fucking mouth, he's like, oh, we got to work with Republicans. It's like, wait, are Republicans vicious racists who want to enact Jim Crow 2.0? Or are they like mostly reasonable conservatives who just got shocked by Trump, and they're not the norm? Trump was the aberration to their party. And, you know, most conservatives are, you know, you can go have a beer with them and talk policy. It's like, you don't get both, bro. They're either fucking psychopaths trying to destroy democracy, like you say one time on one hand, or they're a reasonable opposition party that conflict with leads to better compromises and outcomes. Because that's the idealistic thought process that our founding fathers had, that just probably within the first 100 years of the country got totally thrown out the door by a bunch of cynical fucks. The idea was that the Congress and legislature was a place, the Senate and the House, I should say, were a place of honest goodwill debate. Like, we all want what's best for the country. I just think we need to do this. You think you need to do that. Let's take a look at the facts. Let's get some experts in here. Let's get some data. And let's, okay, maybe I was a little wrong here. Maybe what I wanted to do for this betterment of the country was not actually the right thing to do. And thank you for pointing that out. And now we both learned, and now we can make some banging legislation that helps American citizens. That was never going to be the way it actually worked out. And that was the fundamental fatal flaw of our founding fathers and the country that they constructed. I think so much of what they did was brilliant, and I think they had so many things, the odds were not in their favor. There were so many things working against them creating something as good as they did. So that's why I don't really usually like the founding father slander. Like, yeah, were there some scumbag founding fathers who signed the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights? Yeah, but that's the thing, is we had to work with scumbags. It was a different time, and the fact that we were able to get so much good stuff, and we had enough people who were enlightened enough to put some of these power balances and processes in place, is the only reason our democracy has stood as long as it has, which is, you know, relatively not that long actually. But definitely the fatal flaw was assuming good faith, was assuming that the people in Congress actually had the country's best interests at heart, and the only disagreements were going to come from like, okay, you didn't look at this from my perspective, and this is actually a benefit, instead of like, no, black people aren't actually human, and I should continue to own them because God said it was cool, and I'm going to start a fucking war with you if you disagree. You know, like, that's where it got to real quick, right? They gave us a method. There were founding fathers who did want to found the country without slaves. Records of that. However, we stood no chance against Britain unless we somehow found a deal with the southern states, who were full of fucking really, really degenerate, evil people. And we did what we had to do, but they also gave us a method to fix things, right? They didn't set everything in stone. They didn't entrench slavery into our constitution, because that could have happened too. I mean, we could have just been a fucking Nazi state from the jump. Like, that was always a possibility. So the fact that we weren't that, and we also have a way to fix our mistakes, is a great thing. But again, that's assuming that people would actually progress enough to want to fix the mistakes, instead of, like I said, literally starting a war because we wanted to say that black people should be treated like human beings instead of cattle. What do you do with that, bro? And that's how it's always been. That's the thing. It's like, that's anyone pretending at this point that like there was ever any kind of good faith contention is just delusional. It's like, no, we need to stop the bad guys, and we have the a means to do that. We do. And the good faith debate is supposed to happen within the party, right? The good faith debate is supposed to be between, you know, like AOC and Nancy Pelosi. They're supposed to, in behind back rooms, be like talking in good faith about, and AOC's supposed to be trying to push Nancy Pelosi to like see that this is where the momentum is, and this is where the country needs to be, not only for the success of the party, but for the success of the literal fucking future of America. And Pelosi is supposed to be the one who's like, well, okay, I've been in the game a long time, and here's the technicalities and the realities that you might not be aware of. And that's where you hope the party does eventually shift left, because there is some kind of, I mean, I hate to say Nancy Pelosi's good faith, but on some level, I think she has better interests for the country than any Republican does. And she's just kind of corrupted. But again, it's like, she also knows the game. So the conflict between her and AOC should push the party in a good direction, where it's like, okay, we need to do better things for our constituents, but also here's how to play the game better. That's never going to happen between Democrats and Republicans. That can only happen internal. What the fuck was I watching? I just went on a spiel.
Not just whether or not people get to vote. Who
get to
counts
Kamala?
The vote?
No, Biden sucks.
That's what this is about. That's what makes this so different than anything else we've ever done.
Who counts the vote? Who counts the vote? Counts the vote. Counts the vote. Counts the. Not gonna work, dude. Not gonna work. In fact, this worked so poorly that yesterday, Kristen Sssinema, while he was in the... I mean, she just burned him to the ground. So Joe Biden goes to the Senate to try and convince Kristen Sssinema and Joe Manchin that they should give up on their own political prospects so that this old man can pass a voting bill that she doesn't even like. Okay, and so she gets up on the Senate floor and she's like, you know what? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And you can shove off, sir.
Right? Don't you
While I continue to support these bills, I will not support separate actions that worsen the underlying disease of division infecting our country. The debate over the Senate 60-vote threshold shines a light on our broader challenges. There's no need for me to restate my long-standing support for the 60-vote threshold to pass legislation.
Sicko, dude.
There's no need for me to restate its role protecting our country from wild reversals in federal policy.
So that is Kristen Sssinema just taking Joe Biden, breaking her back like Bane with Batman in Dark Knight Rises. I mean, it's just that is a. I
mean, yeah, I'm glad you know she's the villain. Like, he's so self-aware, dude. It's like when he's talking about Star Wars and he's like, yeah, I love Star Wars. Oh, it's so cool. But actually, Palpatine was kind of right, though. Like, you know, Darth Vader kind of had a point, and I think he had every right to blow up on enemy planet. I think that was actually within the Empire's jurisdiction. Like, he can't help himself, dude. It's like he knows he's the fucking bad guy. He identifies with the bad guys. Like, amazing, bro. Like, you could have said, oh, she ended his career like Batman to beating up Penguin. Like, you know, he's like Batman punching Mr. Freeze out of his cryonic forever life chamber. like Bane. She is like Bane, bro. Oh fuck. And Joe Biden's kind of like, actually, okay, we're combining. I love comics and I love politics. Here we go. Nightfall, the comic in which Batman gets his back broken by Bane, was a commentary on the fact that Batman was a hero of a forgotten time. This was came out in the 90s when there was like a lot of very edgy comics coming out. You know, the ACA or whatever, the Comics Code Association, whatever, CCA, I can't remember. Comics Code, I think that was it. Yeah. That had been censoring comics for a long time, seemed to be a little more lackadaisical, or at least people would buy comics that didn't have that approval. So there was, that's when you had Spawn, you had a lot of fucking big muscly dudes with big guns and then shooting people's faces off and shit. Like that was what was popular at the time, and Batman was seen as kind of like old-timey, like, oh, a guy in a bat suit punching people who doesn't want to use guns or kill bad guys, you know. Like it was the time of the anti-hero. It was the time of the darker hero. And kind of like Joe Biden, he was a man at a time, an old man fighting a new villain. Like Bane was supposed to represent that. Let me see if I can 90s comic style. Like you're gonna see a lot of fucking big galoots, you know. Yeah, like dudes like this, like just yeah, yup, big chests, huge fucking unrealistic guns and armor and all these belts and it's like Cable. This is a very famous picture, a very famous comic cover because it's just so ridiculous. This was like peak 90s comic book, but this is what was hot and Batman wasn't. So Nightfall was kind of supposed to comment on that. He, you know, Bane, another big fucking motherfucker, breaks his back because he's not up to the challenge. And then they actually, I think I just saw him up at the top here, while Batman is recovering. Yeah, here we go. This dude, Azrael, actually is his name. Not to be confused with Azazel, but definitely an inspiration. Azrael takes over as Batman with like a big cyber suit, and he's like clawing people's fucking faces off, and he's like an anti-hero. And then Nightfall ends with Batman having to come back after getting his back broken and like reassert his dominance and like why his way is the best way, and this way is just corny and short-sighted. You know, the he has to come back and stop Azrael because he's taking it too far. He's like killing people who like jaywalk and shit. Maybe not that bad, but so actually astute commentary from Ben there again, like very revealing that he sees himself as he sees himself as the villain. So that's great stuff. I love it.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
As long as I have a breath in me, as long as I'm in the White House, as long as I'm engaged at all, I'm going to be fighting to change the way these legislatures have moving.
As long as it's pretty dark, sir. As long as I have breath over my call. Joe Manchin then put out a statement in solidarity with Sssinema. Just had insult to injury for the Biden administration. Quote, throughout the last decade or more, there's been broad bipartisan support for protecting the filibuster, including current and former members of the Senate. Just 4 years ago, 61 senators, 33 of whom were Democrats, sent a letter to Senators Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell, warning them of the dangers of eliminating the filibuster. That letter presented a united front committed to preserve the ability of members to engage in extended debate when bills are on the floor. While some of them have changed their position, I have not. Respect is a two-way street. I respect that they have changed. I would hope they would respect that I have not. While many try to ignore this history, they do so without fully understanding the long-term institutional and democratic damage this will do to the Senate and our nation. Allowing one party to exert complete control in the Senate with only a simple majority will only pour fuel onto the fire of political whiplash and dysfunction that is tearing this nation apart. This is Joe Manchin's statement.
I believe in debate culture. That's why I do this. It really is, you know. I don't get many viewers, but I enjoy this, and it's something I want to partake in any way that I possibly can. I like debate, and I think we need to nationalize our debate culture. I want to see epic primetime debates on the Senate floor. I want to see senators be forced on mainstream television on air to answer for their beliefs and why they're defending things. We don't get that enough. And the way they set it up in the Senate is kind of bullshit. Like, it's not really debate. It's like everyone just gets to kind of say their fucking bullshit propaganda and you don't get to call them out on it. It's like, no, we need to have back and forth debates. Senators and House members should be able to challenge on a WWE style network. They should be able to challenge other senators to debates, and they either have to pussy out or show up and defend themselves. I want trash talking. I want live commentary. I want reactions. I want to nationalize debate culture because I think it's just it's so crucial to how our democratic republic and how it's structured. It's so crucial to maintaining that structure. Kind of stumbled over myself a little there, but I really feel passionately about that, and I feel passionately that our founding fathers intended it to be that way. They didn't have anything like mass media, but in that time, what people would go see live debates, like that was a form of entertainment. That was something you do on a fucking Friday night, right? Like that was such a big part of our culture as a country. Really. So I think they would want, as our culture has grown into mass media and multimedia, I think our founding fathers would have intended that debate culture to grow with it, and it really didn't. It kind of got silenced. People didn't want to hear that shit. They'd rather. And it's like in fucking that movie, Don't Look Up. You know, the two media personalities. It's like they don't want to hear anything negative. They don't want any contention. People just want to hear good things. They just want to hear that they're winning, or things are looking up for their side, or the other side's terrible, but you know, not in a contentious way, like in a joke, like, oh, those dang Republicans, you know, up to their old tricks again. Like, no, I want to see fucking blood sport, bro. I want to see people really have to stand by their ideas or get exposed.
Thanks on
Trying to get into this right now. We've covered this shit. It's getting so old. Come on, where's Kamala?
So he just said, 1 second, you need a tight fit that's loosely doesn't throw you off Facebook.
Have a seizure and miss it?
Of this or any other generation. Kamala Harris, who is she is just an inspiring figure, deeply inspiring figure. So Kamala Harris did an interview on NBC News. It's one of the great interviews of all time. Kamala Harris is perennially the third grader whose dog ate
less than 4 minutes. Let's go.
Forever and always. She has two responses to questions: to laugh hysterically, like a lunatic, or to try and soldier her way through them like Michael Scott being asked to describe the French Revolution. Here is Kamala Harris being asked a very simple question, and man, this is an all-time great answer right here.
6 former administration officials last week wrote that open letter.
Just looking at it right now, she is fucking Michael Scott, dude. She's the regional manager, you know? She doesn't know how she got there, but God bless her.
Letter urging the administration to change course, to change strategy. Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
Dude, is she drunk, bro?
Every day it is time for us to agree that there are things and tools that are available to us to slow this thing down.
She's the most talented politician of our generation.
Let's get a quote on that real quick.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree that there are things and tools that are available to us.
Bro, this is like your brain on Tumblr quotes. Like, you just like, every day is a day to be the time, and time throughout the day is yours. It's like, it's like trying to be profound and like deep by being super vague, but to a point where it's like actually like losing grammatical correctness. Like,
slow this thing down.
She's the most talented politician of our generation.
Yeah.
By the way, every 2 days there's a piece in the mainstream media about why she needs to recapitulate.
I had not seen that one. The clip I saw, she was like, "Oh, if you want to get tested, just Google it. You can Google it."
Her image. There's another one in the Washington Post. Like, it's almost
like,
every
thanks, Kamala. Thanks for inventing
her
Google.
comms team is failing her because the dictator can never fail. The dictator can only be failed. Maybe she just sucks at this. That's one of the great Selena Kyle Veep lines I have ever heard from a politician in real life. Quote, "It is time," this is a direct quote, "It is time for us to do what we have been doing. And that time is every day." Okay, I'm trying to get a handle on what that means. Today, right now, it's the time for us to do what we've already.
What's funny is like Ben Shapiro has done this exact shtick with like AOC or Bernie Sanders when he actually does say something like true and intelligent, but like Ben has to downplay it through like trying to make it seem like it doesn't actually make any sense by kind of like twisting the interpretation. Doesn't have to work that hard on this one. It's pretty much just it's pretty much just word salad right here. It doesn't mean anything. It does. There's no definition anyone could pull, even being like super generous.
Been doing, and that time to do what we've already been doing is every day. So the past and present and future all merge. It's like a flat circle. Yeah. Play it again. I need that. I need the experience of that level of genius again. I need it. I require it. This could be your next president of the United States, folks, because Joe Biden needed a black woman for Veep.
6 former administration officials last week wrote that open letter urging the administration to change course, to change
Tell us what
strategy.
you really think, Ben, huh?
Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree that there are things and tools that are available to us to slow this thing down.
Dude, she's cooked. She's fucking cooked. I mean, this is parody levels. It really is. Like, this is like something you would see in a movie or a TV show, comedy, horror movie, maybe. It's don't look up level shit for real. That's why I couldn't enjoy that movie, because it's not funny, dude. It's not funny when it's like real life.
My favorite time is that it is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day.
It's time for us to do what we've been doing, and that time is every day. So yeah, what you've been doing is what you do every day. But what you do every day is realize that we have tools at our disposal, I guess. I don't know.
Is that time?
I think we milked this cow.
It's like a haiku for a person who has no brain function. That is fantastic. That is just fantastic. I guess that the goal here is that our leadership class should be actively
okay.
I'm delighted.
I'm not gonna watch him break his brain over that. This one's very interesting to me. I'm super interested in like class traders. You know, I have a fascination with people who like purport to represent the working class or have come from it, who like have dinners with these kind of fucking psychopaths. Like because I know what I would say at these dinners. I mean, they probably wouldn't last very long. But like I have very choice words, not just like, oh, you fucking piece of shit, oh, I'll fucking beat. Like, no, I wouldn't go like I'd literally want to just have a conversation with these fucking maniacs, you know, like, you know, hey, Mr. Obama, President Obama, former President Obama, why do you hate America? Jeff Bezos, why do you hate the entire planet and want to rule it and then destroy it and then fly away from it? What's the thought process there? I'm just trying to get in your head a little. You know, like, I'd really just want to know.
Have you met him before?
I met him. Oh, this is a terrible story.
Oh, I love terrible stories.
Billionaire sex party, or is that where we're going?
Do you want me to do about as name-droppy a story as I could possibly do?
I love
Of course.
I met him at the White House.
Jesus.
At an intimate dinner.
No.
With the Obamas.
Stop.
Christ.
Mark Cuban.
Nope.
And Jeff Bezos.
I don't hear anymore.
No.
I swear to God. I swear to God. And my best memory, and a guy who, like, at the time was like the inventor of the Oculus. And so the guy who did that was like a venture capitalist, brought all the Oculuses out. And so he put the Oculuses on us, and it was like a movie where like you're on a train track and the train is coming at you. And it was the first time that we'd ever experienced something like that in like VR, and it was freaking out. And my wife, it has it on and she's freaking out. And so she has to take it off. And so someone goes to help her take it off, and they take off her Oculus, and it's Michelle Obama. helping her take off the Oculus. And she said to me later, she goes, I wasn't sure in that moment if that was still like the movie. Like, I wasn't sure if part of the virtual reality of the movie was I'm in the White House with Michelle. It was the fucking most bonkers night. Like, we walked out of there like that was insane.
I do like that they had the spectrum of billionaire there, where you have Cuban on one end, who could be a nice guy. At least he could talk in public, and then on the other end you have Lex Luthor, Jeff Bezos, evil billionaire. You had it all there.
Can I tell you the greatest memory of the whole night was Jeff Bezos was describing like the economy of the future, and like it was all about like billionaires are going to need services.
Oh my God.
We're going to need heads polished. We're going to need, like, it was all about the service economy. And I was trying to explain to him, like, it's funny, but a lot of people, want to feel proud of their work and want to feel like they're contributing in a way that, like, that society is not just about it's not just running errands for people that have more than you. Oftentimes there's a fulfillment aspect of it for them. I think he views everybody as like a part of a fulfillment center.
It's crazy.
But not in the fulfillment of your soul, in the fulfillment of like, I need cheese, bring me my cheese. And like, there's a whole industry of people that will be bringing them cheese. And so I said, like, I think that's a recipe for revolution.
Absolutely.
So my greatest memory of the thing is like, and then like kind of a hush falls over. And then you hear Obama from across the couch go, I agree with John. and again,
you son of a bitch.
At that point, I wanted to stand the whole thing and just be like, I'm out.
Yeah, that's all I need.
Oh, Christ.
That's all I need. I'm done.
Thank you for this dinner.
Yeah, craziness.
Was the food good? I'm sorry, we can move on.
No, let's talk about the food, please.
It's interesting. It's just, I don't know if you know this, but when you're in that kind of company, it's just specially designed pellets that have all the nutrients and tastes that you need, and it makes you smarter for like 3 hours.
I fucking knew it.
And then you wake up in your underwear somewhere on K Street, and no one really knows what happened. You forget I just now have bits and memories of it like a fever dream.
Are you sure you have all your organs?
Jakar, I got to tell you something. I haven't had that for many, many years.
Let's do a little Kyle. Why not?
Joe Biden has been taking L's like it's nobody's business. So the Build Back Better failed spectacularly. Now they're trying to get their voting rights bill through, and Biden is just coming across as so ineffectual and pathetic because he is. He went over to talk. He gave a speech the other day where he was, trying to be tough against Manchin and Sssinema and the Republicans who were standing in the way of this. In the speech, he basically said, look, do you want to be on the side of MLK? Do you want to be on the side of the civil rights movement? Or do you want to be on the side of Bull Connor? Do you want to be on the side of what's his name? Something Wallace, the Southern segregationist? Pick a side. Which side are you on? And so he gave this speech. It's an attempt to assert some political pressure, finally taking the move where he's going to assert some political pressure to get his agenda through. The problem is it wasn't a very targeted speech. He didn't call out people by name. And then he met with Kristen Sssinema, had lunch with her, and then Kristen Sssinema proceeded to go and give a speech on the floor of the Senate where she says, I'm not in favor of changing the filibuster at all, not even reforming it. Joe Manchin said the exact same thing. And get this, here's how sad Joe Biden is. After giving that speech where it's like, I'm going to huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down, he went to Mitch McConnell's office to try to tell Mitch McConnell, hey, listen, don't take it personally. I wasn't trying to say that you guys are like segregationists and you guys are the bad guys in this situation. So if it's not about Manchin and Sssinema, who just spit in your eye, and it's not about Mitch McConnell and the Republicans, who are you talking about?
Yeah, okay, that's basically what I was saying earlier, right?
So you look, you see his true nature it keeps coming out, and his true nature is
you can't call people like vicious racists and then also play the game of like, oh yeah, we can just work with these people.
Gutting his agenda in 1,000 ways. And he doesn't have the fight in him, and he doesn't have the intellect or the strategizing in him. Do you think he knows how to play hardball? Do you think he knows how to do the carrot or stick approach? Do you think he knows how to do what he has to do in order to win? Twist arms, act like a mafia boss? You think he understands this? You think he knows what LBJ had to do to get his agenda implemented? No. You think he has any idea what FDR had to do to get his agenda implemented? No. And so he tried in the most tepid and pathetic of ways, like, all right, this is me, and I'm going to be tough.
Oh my
and
God,
everything
dude,
instantly crumbled. The house of cards came falling down. So then he goes and gives a press conference, and look at what he says here.
I hope we can get this done. The honest to God answer is, I don't know whether we can get this done. Is this mic on? I guess, anyway. And,
is this mic on?
Anyway, I hope we can get this done. But I'm not sure. But one thing for certain.
Today is the day.
Like every
and the day is the time.
Major
and it's the time of day in which we must
if we miss the first time,
take the time to know that it is a day, and at that time,
do
do what we have done for all days this day.
As long as I'm in the White House, as long as I'm engaged at all, I'm going to be fighting to change the way these legislatures have moving. Thank you.
Buddy.
I don't know if we can get it done, but if we can't get it done, we could just come back and try again. But I don't know.
Inspiring words.
As I say every show, FDR is rolling over in his grave right now. I don't know, gosh golly. You know, when he was running for president, is that what he was saying? I don't know if we'll be able to get any of this stuff done. Now, understand something. If he had used all the tools at his disposal to this point, and we still hit a brick wall, that'd be a different story. He isn't even close to using all the tools at his disposal. He's only used like 20% of the tools at his disposal. For the love of God, call Manchin into your office, call Sssinema into your office, respectively, and you have these conversations where you tell them, I don't know what you want me to tell you, Joe. I got this guy Merrick Garland at the DOJ, and this guy's on a warpath. He's not happy with you. And he's looking into your daughter for the price fixing that she did when it comes to Big Pharma.
This is what I've been saying.
And they got her on email saying, hey, look, let's commit crimes.
This is what you do.
So, Joe, I want to look out for you. I want to help you out, but you got to help me out if I'm going to help you out. Now, I can talk him down off the ledge, but it's going to take a lot. And so, if you do the right thing, if you vote for Build Back Better, if you vote for voting rights, if you vote for the agenda, and if you're an advocate for these things, well, then I could probably save you. And I'll also make you a hero if you do that. We'll build a statue to you in West Virginia. We'll give you more infrastructure money. We'll bring you into our administration, or a family member or whatever into our administration. You will be a national hero if you do the right thing. Now, if you don't do the right thing, maybe your daughter sees jail time. You know, Merrick Garland's talking... You might be in trouble too, dog. I think he's investigating you. You got $5 million in dirty energy as you sit on the committee that determines what we're going to do in regards to climate change. You don't think that's a conflict of interest? You don't think that's a problem? You're raising all this money
so
from
much
billionaires
it doesn't even have to be
this
right level of black.
I want to help you, but
could just be like, well, you will be cut off from the entire democratic establishment.
Merrick's on a
you will be
warpath.
shooting us in the foot for the next
might be behind bars.
100 years if you pursue this path. If you don't let us get some things done that Americans elected me to get done.
He doesn't have it in him. He's backslapping a good old JoJo's my friend, even though he's destroying everything about my agenda and destroying the country in the process.
He just doesn't care, dude. He's checked out. That's what
you don't think there's crimes there?
It's not.
You don't think
for Joe? This is just like this is just the thing that was always gonna be a part of his life, and now he did it. It was a little later than he thought, and like I don't think it's like he doesn't care as much as like it just it doesn't mean anything to him. He's just been playing this game his whole life, and now it's just the only thing he knows is the game. And he knows on some level he knows the game's almost up for him. So what the fuck, you know? He's just like he doesn't have the fight in him anymore. It's like he doesn't need to. I can't necessarily blame him. That's why I didn't want to vote for him, is because like I know he doesn't have the fight in him. I know he doesn't care on that level. It's not urgent for him. You know, I was just thinking the other day who I said this about. and it just came back to me. I was thinking, I don't remember why this came up, but I was thinking like, who was I calling a loser? Not because like, oh, ha, you're a loser because you're not cool, but like literally just someone who loses a lot. And that's what Joe Biden is. He's lost family. He's lost political races. He's lost debates. Oh shit, he's knocking me off the fucking map, bitch. He is just a person who loses. And that's not somebody that we need right now. Like, we need a winner. More than ever. So that's the funny thing. Like, Trump is a loser in the sense that he's like pathetic and not cool. But he strives so hard to be that winner image, you know, like no matter what, like he will deny, every time he loses, he will deny reality because it's just not possible for him to lose. And ideally, you'd actually have someone who just can't really lose, and that'd be dope. But those people are few and far between, and it's a tough world. So even just being able to project that image of being, again, not necessarily like a cool person, a winner, but like someone who wins, someone who routinely does not lose things.
That we have on the books when it comes to fundraising, when it comes to campaign finance. I mean, this is somebody who ran on lowering prescription drug prices when she was in Congress, and now she took $1 million from Big Pharma, and she flipped on that position. There's absolutely something there. You tell her, you tell Joe Manchin, look, if you do the right thing, you're a hero. If you do the wrong thing, we will make you public enemy #1. You'll never get a job in this town again, and not only that, you're never even going to get a job in the revolving door again. All these donors who are giving you money, you're their buddies. Well, if I contact the companies that want to hire you after you leave here and pay you $1 million to do Dickie McGee's acts, and I tell them, hey, if you hire them, guess what? There's going to be an investigation into all the standards and practices that you don't abide by, all the regulations that you're starting.
Might not have that big of a dick to
Perhaps
swing
we
around,
fine you. So it's in your own best interest not to hire Joe Manchin or Kristen Sssinema. You won't have a job anywhere. You won't be able to get a job anywhere. I'll run ads in Arizona, Kristen Sssinema, that accurately portray you as public enemy #1 and the biggest sellout in the entire country. Joe Manchin, I'll do the same goddamn thing for you. How would you like it if ads were running in West Virginia 24/7 calling you corrupt Joe Manchin, pointing out your conflicts of interest, showing everybody how you're not on the side of West Virginians, showing the polls about how our legislation is phenomenally popular and you're standing in the way? How would you like that?
He's not doing any kind of
But if
pressure,
you do the right thing,
let
you're a hero.
alone that level of
I'll leave it up
advanced
to you.
pressure.
He didn't do any of this. He didn't do it. Not only did he not do any of this, he won't even say the Republicans are the bad guys. He gave a speech and then went to Mitch McConnell groveling. And by the way, Mitch McConnell wasn't even in his office when Biden went to go meet with him, and so we didn't even get to tell him. But the whole point of Biden going was to say,
I hope you're not mad at me. I was just trying to say that maybe we could probably get my thing done if people would do the right thing, but I don't think you're like the segregationist.
Joe Biden is giving up in real time. And the final point is, I'm so ineffective. Woe is me. I don't know if this will work. Break out your executive order pen, you colossal cuck. Nobody has ever been a bigger mega cuck than Joe Biden in this instance. You could legalize marijuana today.
Wasn't me, but anything.
You're the head of the executive branch. We have the drug scheduling and categorization from the DEA, from an executive agency. You have the complete authority to say, marijuana Schedule 1, now Schedule 4, Schedule 5, or we took it off the list completely. It's effectively decriminalized or legalized. I decided to do that. Why? It's like a 70% issue in the country, and everybody agrees this is what we should do. So, there you go. Done. Whole new industry created overnight throughout the entire country, not just in the however many states have now legalized it. Now the entire country, we have a new industry, which is job creation, which is more tax revenue, which is all this fun stuff. He's not doing it. He's not doing it. He could eliminate student loan debt right now. He could do free college by doing an executive order that says we're eliminating current student loan debt and we're doing rolling student loan debt elimination. So anytime anybody takes a loan out, it's immediately null and void. It's paid for by the federal government through our tax dollars. Well, that would be free college. You can do it right now. Again, these are things that are not only good policy, it's good politics. So you don't get a routing in the midterms that is worse than the worst routing the Democrats has ever gotten, which is, by the way, what
dude,
we're
honestly,
on path to see.
Dude,
the Republican
fucking
Party,
legalize it.
The
just
hardcore
fucking
Trump
legalize
base,
it, bro.
They are
Do you know how
now
much good?
almost officially
It's
in
the
a
easiest
cult.
thing in the world. It really
And
is.
you're gonna
It's like
get
the
beaten
easiest fucking thing in the world.
by
the least you could do.
almost a literal
to
cult.
get some
You're not
good
strong enough
press.
at governing and getting an agenda through. You can't even beat a cult. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life. And by the way, I'm just getting started. Those 2 executive orders are the easy ones.
Yeah.
David Day
College
wrote
would
this
be crazy
fantastic
too.
article
but
that runs through
I don't think they're
everything that
gonna do
Biden
that.
can legally do through executive order, and it's a lot. It's a lot. He really could, if he wanted to, do universal health care through executive order. We already have the authority delegated under Obamacare that in times of emergency, the federal government can pick up the tab for anybody's health care. At the very least, you could do it just for COVID treatment, right? Nothing. No.
I don't know if I can get it done, but what I want to know is where's my stapler, and I hope you're not mad at me when I try to get things done for the American people, but I'm going, if it doesn't work now, we'll try again.
When? When are you going to try again? When are you going to have a better opportunity? In the midterms, the Republicans win, so the Democrats get wiped out. You know, you lose the Senate, you lose the House. You're a total lame duck president. When? When are you going to take a crack at it? 2042? What are you talking about? It's now or never. For the love of God, get to work. But everything I'm saying presupposes that his heart is in the right place.
Dude,
and his heart is not-
everything you're saying could have applied back in fucking 2012 with Barack Obama. Like, dude, I have never gotten anything other than like greens and whites from this boss. I don't understand. It's like glitched out or something. Anyways, we're in a time loop, bro. We're in a fucking time loop. We have a Republican president who absolutely does irreparable damage to the fabric of this country, economic and social. Then we have a limp wrist. Then the people like realize how fucking bad that was, and with overwhelming majorities elect Democrats to literally have a full control over our both executive and legislative branches. And then they somehow still fumble. And I mean, at least Obama got like, you know, Romney care passed. Like, you know, that is a thing he did. But you think they would have learned? Like, you got to do something. It can be something very milquetoast. It can be something that, you know, I wouldn't exactly put on the top of my list. But to just do nothing and to like go for the extremely weak stuff, like the stuff that's even weaker than like passing Obamacare, which was like, you know, a huge healthcare reform, as much as I think it was lacking in a lot of ways. But to like shoot yourself in the foot from the jump and then still fail is crazy. And the fact that they're letting Kristen Sssinema and Joe Manchin do this is also fucking crazy. It's like, get a grip, dude. Like, we don't have time for this nonsense. Like, the American people gave us a mandate as a party. You will not stand in that way. You can have your voice heard. You can suggest things, but we are in a time of party politics, and you got to step in fucking line, you maniac. Because the Republicans always will. Let's end with some Tucker, huh?
Good evening and welcome.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson.
Noting something obvious, because this is the obvious show. If you live in the United States, you may have noticed that many of our public spaces have become permanent homeless encampments.
Uh-oh.
You see trash-filled tents blotting out what were once green and tidy public parks. You step over
The liberal
vagrants
media will
drooling
have you believe
unconscious
these
on the
people
steps of
deserve
train
housing.
stations on the way to work.
But we
You watch
know.
as junkies
Yeah,
smoke
the
meth
obvious
without any
show.
embarrassment at all, and then
They
yell
should
at
be
pedestrians on the
euthanized.
sidewalk, maybe at your children.
Mercifully.
Everywhere, at every
While I watch.
intersection, there are beggars. It's what we used to imagine India was like, but this is not Calcutta. This is New York, San Francisco, and Austin, Texas. So the question
Looks
is,
like a brown person country.
and the short answer is, our leaders did this. No matter what they tell you, homelessness is not an act of God. It's not the result of economic collapse in this country. America did not run out of housing.
Well,
Instead, a determined
nope,
group
Sean
of
Hannity
well-funded
just bought all the
ideologues
houses.
decided to make it easier to live on the streets in this country while doing drugs. Therefore, many more people now live on the streets while doing drugs. See? not complicated. In 2005, an unemployed alcoholic called Basil Humphrey enrolled in a rehab program in Boise, Idaho. When Humphrey refused to stop drinking, the rescue mission kicked him out. Those were the rules, and he spent months sleeping outside, as so many do. Eventually, local authorities ticketed him for camping on public property. That was the law. The story would have ended there, except that a huge corporate law firm in New York City called Latham & Watkins took an interest in the case on the other side of the country. Now, typically, Latham & Watkins represents Wall Street banks and prominent Democratic office holders. But the firm wanted to change vagrancy laws to increase homelessness. Why did they want that? We don't know. But the firm filed a lawsuit on Basil Humphrey's behalf against the city of Boise.
Why do they want that?
That suit made it to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. In 2019,
I'll tell you my answer in 3
cities
parentheses.
have no right to criminalize homelessness. In fact, the court ruled cities have an obligation to provide free housing to the homeless at public expense. The Supreme Court later upheld that ruling. So the city's priorities could not be clearer than that. You lavish money on the least productive, most antisocial parasites in our society, and then you punish Americans who work for a living.
All right,
got it? And it's hardly just
parasites, huh?
The latest city budget in San Francisco proposed
what do we do with parasites?
$667 million for
what do you think
the
we should do?
Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing. And yet, at the very same time, San Francisco's Department of Children, Youth, and Families gets
gas the parasites.
A city program designed to help. Last week, a homeless man walked into a furniture store in the west side of Los Angeles and murdered a graduate student who was working alone there. He stabbed her to death for no apparent reason and then walked out. He's still at large. She was 24, now she's dead. Today, her father told Fox and Friends that he holds city officials responsible for the killing. Watch.
What's endemic in our society right now is that everybody seems to be oriented on giving back rights and bestowing favor on people that rob others of their rights. We should be celebrating the good in people and trying to recognize that that's the job they have, is to try to elevate that, to make communities better, to make people care more, to not tear down communities by exposing them to people that are falling out the bottom that really don't care about the other human beings and just think they can do whatever they like in our society, and they are doing it more and more in every community.
Pretty composed for a man
Who's
who
they?
lost his child, but he's absolutely right. Focusing our attention and our money on people who contribute nothing, who only detract from the project that is this country, don't help their communities or anybody's community, who hurt other people, who live solely for themselves, who are a danger to the rest of us, that's insane. And so that girl died, and she wasn't the only one. Last month in Los Angeles, a man called Carrie Bell murdered a 70-year-old emergency room nurse. She was on her way to work, one of the people we should be celebrating. Now she's dead. Who's the man who killed her? Well, Bell had a long criminal record. He had a prior arrest in L.A. He had
They're really doing the, like, black people have killed other people. Maybe. They can't participate in society. Curious. Again, something I've definitely discussed before. That's what we do here. Repeat ourselves constantly. When you're faced with a problem like crime, or increasing crime, there's 2 directions you can go with it. You can go for the symptoms, or you can go for the cause. If you want to go for the symptoms, then fine. Yeah, fucking arrest everybody. Fucking get your weird psychotic revenge out on them. Hang them by their testicles. Execute them in the public square. And you're gonna find that you're not actually fixing crime. You're just creating a lot more misery in the world, and you're just creating a much more savage and psychotic world where it does really just become power versus power. It's just power becomes the only thing that matters, because eventually, once you start over executing the law, eventually the law only becomes an interpretation of who has power. Once you can start justifying mass killing people who live in the street, it's really not that much more of a step to, like, justify killing a certain race of people or ethnicity of people. So you're really just, you're moving society in a pretty fucking vicious direction. Now, does that mean that the only other alternative is like, oh, well, we got to coddle criminals and like people who hurt other people because yes, they may be in a desperate situation, but they still chose to hurt other people explicitly in that desperate situation. Should they go unpunished? No, they should, but I think it's worth investing in a society, in a structured society that can give people more opportunity to pull themselves out of those bad circumstances. I want it to be that only the truly the worst of the worst go into crime, because they don't go into it because they have no other choice. They go into it because they actually just like hurting other people. We don't live in that world yet. I can't tell the difference sometimes. I'm not going to always be able to tell the difference between someone who's really just a fucking just born evil, born with the mark of the devil, and like they just want to hurt and take from other people as much as they can. I know those kind of people exist, but I can't always tell when they're that or there's someone who just really had the worst fucking hand dealt to them and are just trying to make a way out, and maybe something went a little too far, or they made a choice that they probably shouldn't have. Why I lose my Bluetooth? It pisses me off. And we live in a society that currently lumps a lot of people into that category. It pushes a lot of people into the place of desperate crime, not malicious crime. I shouldn't even say that. All crime is malicious, but it's not even a restorative versus retributive justice thing. It's more like how we structure society. It's before the retributive or retributive or reformative justice. Before that even happens, before we even get to that conversation, I think there's certain structures that we have in our society that are going to push a lot of people into those desperate straits. There's a lack of opportunity for people to live honest, hardworking, decent lives.